Hey guys, Dwindling Elves here. So welcome to Game 3 of my Escalation League at the Montreal Games Workshop. So this game will be against a Beastman opponent. And since it's still September, we are still at 1250 points. So again, I took the Lore Master of Hoeth with the Book of Hoeth because I think that's an awesome combination. And my opponent has taken a level 2 Death, specifically the special character Slugtongue. And he's got Aspect of the Dread Knight and Purple Sun. So neither of these spells really worry me because whether he causes Fear or Terror, I've got a Leadership 9 rerollable, so I don't really care. And Purple Sun, my entire army is Initiative 5 or better, so it'll do minimal damage, and my character gets a Lookout Sir, so I'm not too worried about that one either. So here's my deployment. So I'm trying out a new list. This one is far more mobile and aggressive. So what I've got is an eagle on the left, and then next to him I've got 5 reavers before they vanguarded, and these reavers have musician and spears. Then I have 20 white lions with banner and musician, and they've got the standard of swiftness, so their movement 6. And in there I've got my lore master with the Book of Hoeth and the golden crown. Now I'm trying out a griffin BSB, who is placed behind the the white lions. And so there's a noble with a lance, an enchanted shield, and the Dawnstone, so he's got a 2-up rerollable. And he's just on a regular griffin. I didn't have any points to upgrade him, and he is my BSB. Now on my right side I've got a bus of 9 silver helms with banner and musician, so they're in the Bretonnian lance formation because high elves can fight in 3 ranks. So I don't get a rank bonus here, so I'll never be steadfast, but it maximizes your attacks in a much smaller, more maneuverable formation. So my opponent has a unit of 6 Minotaurs with full command, and in front of them he's got 5 Ungor Raiders. Then he's got a Gore Chariot, or it's the regular troop chariot that's pulled by boars. Then he's got 19 Gores, and in there he's got his level 2 mage, Slugtongue, and then he's got his Beast Lord General. Now also in the corner he's got 5 Scouting Harpies. So here you can see the 5 Scouting Harpies. I think this was well played by him. These guys can easily threaten a flank, and if they get into my Silver Helms, if I don't kill any, which is likely, or I might kill one, he's still got a flank and a charge and maybe a wound or 2, so I'll be down by 1 or 2 and I won't be steadfast, which is a bit dicey. So I get the Vanguard, and I Vanguard my Fast Cav to deal with those Harpies. And I won the roll for first turn. So I move my Eagle up into the flank. And then I reformed my Silver Helms out of bus formation so that they would have ranks. So in the event that the Harpies charge them, at least I'll be steadfast, and I'll actually get more attacks. If he charges me in the rear, he'll get +2, but I'll get 5 night attacks before he gets to fight. And then I also move my BSB Griffin over as well, so he can still see his main battle line, but he's also got line of sight to his Harpies. And here's another picture of that. So in the magic phase, I 2d6 fireball his chariot, and I do 2 wounds. So then I cast Miasma on the Minotaurs to reduce their movement by d3, and I roll a 6, so they're now movement 3, which works out pretty well because I don't want to fight those guys anytime soon. So Beastman turn 2, or turn 1, he does many charges and he fails all of them. Now they're all relatively long charges. So his chariot goes into my white lines and needed like a 9 or a 10, and it fails. His Gore go into my Silver Helms, and they fail. I think they also need like a 10 or an 11. And his Harpies are actually in the flank of my Griffin, and I think they needed a 10 as well. And they failed, but I was perfectly fine with that charge because I think even if he charges me in the flank, I'm still going to murder the crap out of him. So in the magic phase, I let Aspect of the Dread Knight go through on the Harpies, so now they cause terror, which is a pretty smart move on my opponent because now if the Griffin charges them, they won't get terror bombed off the board. And he also casts a Purple Sun, which I couldn't dispel, and he gets unlucky here, and it rolls a 2, so it only ends up moving 6 inches, and doesn't touch anything. So High Elf turn 2. So I have 2 charges. The first is on the bottom right, where my Griffin charges his Harpies and makes it in. And then if you look at the center top of the board, I charge my Eagle into the flank of his Chariot. So there, I'm pretty optimistic about that. I've got a charge and a flank, so I'll be up by 2. And his boars won't be able to attack me, so he's only got 2 attacks on me. So I think I think my Eagle could potentially run down his Chariot there. As for the rest of my movement, I back the white lions up a bit because I don't want to get any closer to those Minotaurs. I reform the Silver Helms into a bus formation and walk them back away from that Gore unit because what I want to do is wipe out those Harpies, turn my Griffin around, and take both those units into that block. And then I move the fast cav over just to threaten his chaff next turn. So in the magic phase, I fireball the Minotaurs and end up doing 5 wounds. Then I cast Spirit Leech on his level 2 Slugtongue, and I kill him in one go. So I did 2 wounds to him, which is pretty good. So now my opponent doesn't have a magic phase anymore. And I get Ice Shard Blizzard off on the Chariot. So the 2 Gores on top of the Chariot will only be hitting me on 5s. So in the combat phase, the Eagle, or the Griffin Lord, or the Griffin Noble, makes easy work out of those 5 Harpies and just reforms as such. And the Eagle does 1 wound to the Chariot, and he does no wounds to me. So we stick. So the Chariot's got 1 wound remaining, so maybe I'll take it out next turn. So Beastman turn 2. He had 2 failed charges. His chaff charged my fast cav and failed it. I mean, they needed something easy like a 6, and he ended up rolling a 5, which is unlucky. And the Minotaurs try to charge the White Lions, but that's a really long charge and they fail. And his unit of Gore just march up as quickly as possible to face down my Silver Helms. So there was no magic, so we went straight to combat, and the Eagle doesn't wound him, and he doesn't wound me, so because he needs 5s to hit. So I win by 2, and he's out of the general's range, so he breaks, but I fail to catch him. So High Elf turn 3. So I go to charge, and they're out of shot right now, but my Silver Helms declare a charge on his unit, and he holds. And then I charge my Noble Griffin into him as well, and he has to take a terror test, which he fails. So he was on Leadership 9, and he rolled a 10, and he failed it. So I was very unlucky on my opponent's behalf. So then all I have to do is take the Eagle and charge that unit again, and they run off the board. And that's where we call it a game. So the after action report. Terror is a game winner. So that my list isn't built around terror bombing, but that's what ended up happening here. And it cost my opponent the game. He got unlucky. It happens. I think this goes to show BSBs are so important, because Leadership 9 rerollable is very, very unlikely to fail, whereas Leadership 9 without a reroll I think fails 1 in 6 times, so it will happen to you. Once again, my magic phase, like in other games that I've played, has been dominant. The lore master with the Book of Hoeth is amazing. I mean, I think the Book of Hoeth is probably worth 2 to like 4 or 5, depending on how good you roll during your Winds of Magic. It's worth 2 to 5 dice. Because there's so many times where I'm taking 1s and turning them into 3s or 4s or 5s, and it really, really helps, especially when you can do that with every spell, and all the spells I'm pretty much throwing 1, 2, or 3 dice at. It's a really insane combo. My opponent was also very unlucky this game. And then as for the Escalation League, I got 3 points. So that's 2 for the win, and 1 more for killing the general. So right now, I have 9 out of a possible 9 points. Hope you guys enjoyed it.